Welcome to the CX Sessions from the Customer Experience Innovation Institute. Every episode, we provide an innovative perspective on customer experience from the people who are changing your world, one experience at a time.
Welcome back to CX Sessions from Melbourne, Australia. I'm your host, Simon Chris, and joining me today from the very exotic and beautiful city of Milan in Italy is Roberto Abbondio. Roberto, welcome to CX Sessions.
Hello there, or buongiorno from Milan.
Oh, there we go. Tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you've had extensive background in the travel industry. But tell us a little bit about the Roberto story.
Yes, well, thank you for having me today, first of all. And yeah, we got something in common with travel people. So I've been spending a big part of my career and my life traveling around and working in the travel industry. I started with BA, British Airways, which is still occupies a big part in my heart, being my first job. British carrier, and then I moved on with another big carrier as well, Cathay Pacific in Hong Kong. I worked for Expedia, so in digital travel, and for Eurostar before changing completely industry and coming to work for insurance for Generali, which is one of the biggest insurance company in Europe and in the world. So big change, but then you see some of the big topics, especially in CX, are more and more transversal across industry, and that's what I've been learning in the past few years, in the past 4 years since I joined the insurance and financial services world.
Yeah, well, I guess people who have insurance are also people that travel on airplanes, right? It's the same group of people, really.
Absolutely. And the interesting thing is that very often, I mean, when I joined the insurance world, very often I heard people saying, we're not as advanced, so people have lesser expectations when they join, when they come to our app, for example, or our website. The reality is that our expectations are made on the best that we see, and we set mentally some standards. So if I'm on Amazon 5 minutes earlier, whatever I visit after Amazon, an app or website, etc., I have in mind that experience. So everybody always have to try to raise the bar as much as possible, because expectations nowadays are set very, very high.
Yeah, and they seem to only have gotten higher in a post-COVID world. People seem to expect more now than what they did before, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. They want the best, they want very personalized content, and they want it now. So, it's complicating things for a lot of companies, for sure.
And what does CX mean at Generali? I mean, where does the CX journey kind of start and stop, and particularly in your area around digital marketing?
Yeah, let me start telling you one thing. We are quite an old company. We are 193 years old. So, in 7 years' time, we celebrate 2 centuries of life. So being alive and thriving and performing for such a long time means that, customers have to be at the center of your model, because, otherwise customers wouldn't choose us for such a long time. That's very important to say. But of course, you have to keep in mind that the expectations are evolving, and we've been trying to do that forever, really. At the heart of our business model, there are almost 200,000 agents around the world. We operate in more than 50 markets across the world, in Asia, America, Europe. So not in Australia yet, but we are a global company. That means that our agents have to be a mix of very local culture, but still keeping the consistency of a brand in so many markets, which is not a trivial thing. So we pride ourselves for being a lifetime partner for our customers, and that's very important for a company like ours, which means accompany them through the various stages of life, thinking about their financial situation, their protection, their future, on top of their present. So it's very important to create a sort of a life cycle engagement with them throughout their life stages. And that can be done in many ways. That's been evolving, of course, over the years, because, back in time, clearly was just a human relationship between the agent and the customer. But then digital services, digital assets started to play a big part. And nowadays we're really trying to balance the servicing options. So putting the customer at the center of the channels and making sure that our customers are free to use whatever channel they want when they want. So if I want to open a claim or if I want to renew my policy at 2 a.m. because I can't sleep, then I'm able to do it. Or if I'm in a hurry and I want to do it quickly without having to call my agent, then I can do it. If I want to feel more reassured than picking the phone and speaking to an agent or opening my app and clicking, a button and ask my agent to call me back, I'm able to do it. So the idea really is to create a balanced and harmonious balance between the various channels, but always with the customer at the center.
And I can see an interesting parallel here between travel and insurance, in that a certain percentage of your customer experience is beyond your control, right? Travel is sold by travel agents and insurance is sold by insurance agents that you don't necessarily control, and that may be wary about having the generally have a direct relationship because it's kind of, they're my customer. How do you kind of balance that? How do you try and make sure that the brand, that CX field, goes right out across these 4,000 agents that you have?
Yeah, no, that's a very good point, Simon. We have mixed models, first of all. Some agents are actually directly employed by Generali, so that's more, let's say, under control, and they breathe, the culture of Generali, so it's easier for them to deliver that experience. But then our product is also sold by brokers, for example, and a broker may be selling our product today and our competitors tomorrow. So it's really important for our distribution team to convey the values and the value that Generali brings to the customer, and make sure that whenever our products are sold and proposed to the customer are done in a certain way. It's also that also goes in parallel with the adoption of our digital assets, because clearly, as you said, when we introduced, for example, the customer apps, the first reaction from agents was, you're trying to avoid us talking to them, you want to disintermediate the business and so on. The truth is that agents remain central in our model, because we believe the human touch, especially for something so deep and so important for customers, if you think about a life policy, financial education, etc., it's so important to have a strong relationship with our customers, and we know our agents do it well. But then at the same time, in parallel, digital assets can take away a lot of the work from our agents. If you think about all the admin stuff, all the services that customers can do it themselves. If I want to know, am I covered for a certain topic, or, what are the boundaries of my policies? There's so much admin that our agents have to deal with. And that's been taken away by digital assets. At the same time, that allows our agents to focus on what creates value in the relationship, which is the advisory. When I speak to my agent, I want to be advised on my financial choices, on my coverage, etc. And I want to take the clutter away. And the clutter is a lot of admin stuff that is just bureaucracy very often. It takes time. So adding digital assets to the advisory really creates the best of both worlds, right? I can do myself all the clutter, and then I can really focus with my agent on what creates value and makes a difference in the relationship.
Yeah, that's a really interesting way to think about it. I often look at insurance and think it's one of those industries where the interactions, where the experience is the product, right? If I buy a shirt and it's not quite right, I've got something physical. If I book an airplane ticket, I can look at the seat and, is it clean? When it's something like insurance, yes, I may get a piece of paper or an email saying you're insured, but there really isn't a product there until I need to talk to somebody about it. And that's when it really is. That a fair summary?
Well, for sure, we and that's why we have identified the moment of truth, the famous moment of truth, right? That are valid for every industry. For sure, when a customer has a claim or a renewal, or whenever there is a need, that's a moment of truth, and it's important for us to be agile, to make the relationship effortless and caring, and to make sure, you know, the expectations of our customers are catered for, and actually going beyond those expectations. It's true, it's not insurance is not something tangible that you can touch, but at the same time we're trying also to add a layer of engagement. If I think, for example, of our digital assets, you know, nowadays insurance goes beyond the normal. You may think, you know, the coverage for my car or for my house, right? Actually, now it involves a lot of topics like financial education, so, which is really important, more and more important. It involves, for example, topics about health. And integrating, for example, in our app, an health vertical will create much more engagement because, for example, I am a runner, not now because I just had knee surgery, but I am a runner and I hope I will be a runner in the future. So connecting, for example, with my Strava, with my performance app for my running, my insurance, and letting them know that I'm very healthy, so I get some benefits in the relationship. Vitality, for example, is a brand that is known in Australia, and it's owned by Generali, co-owned by Generali as well. And that's very important because that generated deeper engagement and exchange of data, for which, you know, I think of my insurance company as a partner. I want to give my insurance more data because I know I'm going to get something in return. You know, I'm going to get tips, I'm going to get personalized content, maybe I'm going to get some vouchers, some discounts, and the relationship goes deeper. And that's very important for us because, you know, in a moment in which we are talking, everybody's talking more and more about data and about privacy and the personalization of data. We're trying really very hard to find a way for a deep and respectful use of the data of our customers, creating value for them. That's the key of the future engagement. So I mentioned earlier the life cycle engagement, and I think around that, there is really this mutually beneficial exchange of data. Because of course, if I'm an insurance, I care about having more data about my customers, but not necessarily about just about selling them more products, but really about creating a relationship which is personalized, which is timely, relevant for them. Because, you know, nowadays, whenever I open my email or, you know, my phone, it's full of general messages that I don't care about, advertisement, etc. We want our communication to really be streamlined, personalized, and just creating value to our customers, so that, you know, every time we speak to them, you know, it speaks to them as people. And that's the beneficial exchange of value of data, because in that way, our customers are more inclined to share more data, and the relationship is healthier and more balanced, and really, really useful for both.
And you touch on a really good point around wearables and implantables and things like that that are just starting to storm, you know, around the planet. That data can be of great use, but to your point, the customer wants to know that they're getting something for that data. They're not just sharing it for the sake of sharing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Customers are becoming more and more wary, and it's also our part as responsible corporate to make them wary of not sharing too much data, especially here in Europe, where we're based and where the majority of our business is based. In the last few years, there have been a lot of laws concerning data, any kind of data. Now, even for marketing, of course, we're going towards the cookieless world, and a lot of changing in the relationship with our customers. And it's really fundamental, and we really care, and I'm really proud about that we're also trying to anticipate some of the trends concerning cookieless, the use of first-party data, but also accessibility for our digital assets, making sure even before the new laws come, and actually you've been in travel and you remember accessibility laws for travel came a few years ago. Now they're coming also for financial industries, financial services. But we're actually going even before, you know, the law in trying to make all our assets accessible, making our data policies more stringent in order to gain the trust of our customers, to say your data with us is safe, and being very clear straight away and say this is what we used your data for. That's creating value in the relationship. Not everybody does that, unfortunately. That's that's been creating a backlash in the data topic in the last few years. So it's really important to be responsible corporates from that point of view.
Yeah, and everybody is also talking about AI right now. Are you seeing AI really starting to play a part in Generali? I mean, traditional AI has probably always been there in the background figuring out, you know, the probabilities of things, but are you seeing it in the customer experience, or is your industry too regulated?
Everybody's starting to play with it. And I go back to what I said earlier about being responsible corporates in the way we're using technology as well. So we, of course, have started to use AI, but we're trying to use it in order to personalize in a better way our experience to the customer, and making sure that whatever we do is actually resonating more with our customers, and also supporting the agents in the relationship with our customers. So we are dipping our toes in this big ocean, doing it in a very careful way, and making sure we don't overdo it, and we don't do things that actually are gonna jeopardize the trust and the relationship with our customers. So I do believe AI is going to be a great help in our marketing efforts, in our relationship efforts, but it's important to always put the customer at the center of what we do.
Yeah, great advice. You mentioned before that you're trying to look ahead, and I wanted to go there. I wanted to ask you to gaze into your Italian crystal ball that you have, and tell me what you see in the future. What does customer experience look like, either in the insurance sector or the travel sector, or just generally? What does it look like in 3 years or 5 years time?
I think we're gonna be moving more and more towards a hybrid model in all industries. And you know, I mean, I am now in an industry which has just started going towards that hybrid model. I mean, we saw in travel that happen already. So the fusion really between what is digital and what is human, also supported by AI, will be more and more prominent. And at some point, I can see that some of the traditional separation between, for example, the sales and the marketing will disappear. Because nowadays, for example, in our profession, I don't know anymore where is the border between the sales and marketing. When am I marketing a product? When am I trying to sell it, right? It's all part of a big customer experience, and that's, you know, made of the human interaction and the digital. And the more and more these are becoming seamless. So this hybrid and seamless connection and relationship will actually be the norm, because nowadays we can still see some fractures, all right, and some moments in which one ends and the other starts, and very often we see some companies which are not very good at managing that, right? Maybe I'm starting to do something online, then I want to speak to someone and I have to start all over again. But now we're going towards a more and more seamless relationship, for which, you know, my interaction as a customer with a company, doesn't matter what is the channel of interaction, is going to be seamless. You know, an agent can pick up the phone and start immediately from where I left it online, and vice versa. That's making for sure the experience much better and much faster and effortless for the customer. So I'm quite optimistic that customer experience will massively improve in all sectors in the next 3-5 years.
Yeah, wow. And you know, that dream of, you know, I think for a while it was called omni-channel and this, that, and the other, but that thing of it just being frictionless for customers and that they can easily move, that kind of desire has been there for a long time. But I think you're right. I think technologically now we're reaching a point where that becomes a reality, without having to totally rebuild your tech stack, of course.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to pivot a little, and I've got 3 questions I love to ask everybody that comes on the CX sessions. And the first one is, what makes a great experience for you? So Roberto is out and about in the streets of Milan, buying coffee, doing whatever, you know, what makes a great experience for you?
When you started the question, I was thinking of a recent experience that I'm going to tell you in a minute. But then you mentioned the coffee bar, and what makes a great experience to me is always a smile. So it's the human connection and be treated as a person, and that's very important. And wherever you go. And in every experience, even if I'm dealing most of all with digital in my job, I always think that even the digital experience have to have a personalization and have to feel human to the customers. I don't believe in a dry experience, because a dry experience makes every company looks the same, and then doesn't create a relationship. It's not an experience. From a digital point of view, I tell you about an anecdote, something that happened to me just a few days ago, that I'm telling everybody because I was, so ecstatic about it.
Right.
Was that I was not happy about my energy provider, and I won't mention any names, of course, but I thought they were overcharging me. And I wrote to them around a week ago, and I asked them about it because I thought there was something wrong. And I said, look, I think you're overcharging me. Quite unhappy in my communication to them, of course, digital communication. And after 3 days, I haven't heard from them, and I got a bit impatient. And probably, clearly, because I've been looking at energy prices, I got on my screen a few proposals, a few ads, and I clicked on one, and I found a very interesting proposition from a competitor. I clicked on it, and I asked them to call me. And I said, I just want to see what's their experience. After 15 seconds, 15, since I clicked with my number, my phone rang. And I just thought that was great, because it's really important. And that's what we're telling our agents. And that's how we are reorganizing our digital marketing and generally as well. If I'm asking you to call me and I give you my details, I share my data with you, I am in the mood for doing that right now. I'm ready for you. Grab my business right now. Yeah. If you call me tomorrow I'll be thinking about something else. It's not going to be the right moment. I may be going in another shop somewhere else, right? Yeah. So this guy, they called me. I tell you, within 12 minutes, my contract with them was signed.
Wow.
So that was a great experience. They understood what I wanted. I told them my issues. And straight away, they gave me the proposition, and I was ready, right? So it's really important, and that was a big learning point for me, something that I'm really trying now to bring in my day-to-day. Whenever the customer is ready, be there for them and just give them what they want. And in that way, you're going to get the trust in their business. So there was very happy about it.
Has your original retailer replied to your message yet?
You know what? It's 1 week now. I haven't heard from them, but very soon I will hear from them, because they will know, because actually the new company is doing the switch. They will know that I'm leaving. Yeah, so for sure, then they're going to call me, and, I'm going to be ready to tell them all.
my guess is that the complaints department won't know that you've switched, and will still, that silo thing that happens in a lot of companies is probably going to happen again.
Exactly.
That's another second question is, if you could go back in time, and I know you're a young man, so there's not far to go back, but if you could go back in time, and give yourself some great advice, either about career or about customer experience or something, what would be the advice you would give yourself?
It's a very interesting question. I have to say, I am, whenever I look back, and I just recently had an important birthday, which was not 30, a bit more.
21.
I look back, and I have no regrets, to be honest, about my life or my professional career. One advice, or one thing that I think has enriched it a lot, has been traveling a lot and get in touch with a lot of cultures, and learning a lot also from different industries and from different areas of the business, because I've been working in marketing, in sales, e-commerce, distribution. And that's very important, because then at the end, when you look at the business, you're able to understand what is happening and why. So the mix of going around and working in different departments created let's say, a professional figure with, I like to think, maybe it's not like that, but a 360 understanding of what is happening, which I think it's really important. I was actually very glad to enter the digital world pretty soon. I joined Expedia almost 20 years ago when, Expedia was pretty new and people were starting to go on digital and understanding.
Yeah.
And I really loved that because, there was a big transformation in the relationship with our customers. And that made me think very, very soon what it meant for our customers, right? To do something in front of a screen in terms of the customer experience. And that's probably where, my customer focus matured a lot, thinking, okay, I was used to book my travel sitting in front of a person. What does it mean for me as an experience, booking it in a cold and dry way in front of a screen where I just see some fares, etc.? How can we make it more personal? How can we bring that to life? And that's something where, if you think about how the digital experience evolved in the last 20 years, I mean, it's been giant steps, right? And
Yeah.
we were talking earlier about the seamless and the omnichannel. So that's been a very interesting journey.
Yeah, it's funny though, people still have a romantic attachment to a travel agent. They go in there and there is always a wall full of brochures and they can get the brochure and sit there and the travel agent can say, oh, I went there once, it was, there seems to be a romanticism. But the simple, as you put it before, removing the clutter means that the online experience is just killing it because it removes the clutter and people can do it from their own lounge room. They don't need to. It's a little bit like, what am I getting for my data? I'm starting to see, what am I getting for getting in the car and driving 20 minutes down to the shop to see you that I can't get doing it at home.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I mean, I see lots of travel agents here in Milan as well when I walk around. And sometimes I wonder, sorry, I hope there are no travel agents in your audience. I wonder how can they survive, right? Because I haven't been visiting myself a travel agents in 25 years. But then it's also nice to think that some of these businesses are still thriving, and because the world is varied and we're all different, and some people actually like to have somebody planning the trips with them, and it's something I actually do myself with my friends whenever they go somewhere where they haven't been and they come to me and they look at my Lonely Planet collection, something that we have in common, Simon. And I like to sit down and show them, and that's the physical, aspect of touching the paper and turning the pages of the Lonely Planets and so on. So it's there's also that nice experience, which connects to what I was saying earlier about the advice from an agent, right? So there are still, it's still important to keep this hybrid world and also rely on the human touch and human connections.
Human touch, yeah. All right, third and final question. What book are you reading right now, or podcast or TV series? What's influencing Roberto?
So I'm reading The Lonely Planet Japan because in 2 weeks' time I'm traveling east.
That's important.
Lots of books about Japan. Very sadly, konnichiwa. And I'm very excited about that. But no, there's a book actually that I have here on my desk, which I find really interesting, which is called AI 2041. I mean, this is the Italian version of it, because that's what I found in Italian bookshop. It's written by two Chinese. One is an AI expert, and another one is a science fiction writer. So there's this really mix between the science fiction, the fiction and the stories and the imagination, and then the hard data and the science. And this mix is fascinating because they look at how, AI is changing and will change our world, our relationship, everything we do. They look at it, of course, with there is realism, there is storytelling, and that makes us think, there is a lot of optimism as well, because things will improve, and I'm sure there's going to be lots of improvements. There is also caution because, we know how careful we will have to be in managing with all new technologies, But I remain pretty optimistic because, the world has been changing a lot, and, from the times where industrialization came, and then at the time they were the Luddites, they wanted to destroy all the machines, but then actually the industrialization brought many benefits as well. once it was managed properly. Lots of technologies, television, the internet, and now AI. So I remain optimistic on how AI will change our world. And this book is really giving a lot of food for thought, and that's going to be translated also in my daily life, in my work and everything. So I recommend it. It's called AI 2041.
AI 2041. Well, I'll be ordering a copy straight after this. Roberto, mille grazie. This has been fantastic. We could have gone on for another hour, but I really appreciate you being a part of CX Sessions.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and ciao, everyone. Take care.
Bye.
That's it for this session. Let us know what you think or recommend someone for a future session at cxii.com.au. This podcast is brought to you by the Customer Experience Innovation Institute. Thanks for joining us, and tune in again soon to hear more CX Sessions.